to order. I'd first like to ask the board to approve our virtual procedures for today. So a motion to adopt the new procedures has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, we'll go to the roll. Brian?
I approve.
Leontine?
Approve.
Vanessa?
Approve.
Sherilyn?
Approve.
Roosevelt?
Approve.
Paul?
Approve.
Kellen?
Approve.
And Carol?
Approve.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 2, approval of our minutes from both the April and the May meetings has been, a motion to approve them has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, we'll go to the roll. Brian?
I approve.
Leontine?
Approve.
Vanessa?
I abstain. I wasn't at the May meeting.
Noted. Thank you. Sherilyn?
Approve.
Roosevelt?
Approve.
Paul?
I approve.
Kellen?
I approve.
And Carol?
Approve.
Okay. Motion carries 7-0 with 1 abstention noted. Item 3, a motion to approve 116 pension applications and 77 withdrawal applications has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, we'll go to the roll. Brian?
I approve.
Leontine?
Approve.
Vanessa?
Approve.
Sherilyn?
Approve.
Roosevelt?
Approve.
Paul?
I approve.
Kellen? Kellen, do we have you on 3?
I approve.
Thank you. Carol?
Approve.
Motion carries unanimously. That moves us into section 4. 4A, a motion to approve the service-connected disability benefit for Raymond Moldering has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, we'll go to the roll. Brian?
I approve.
Leontine?
Approve.
Vanessa?
Approve.
Sherilyn?
Deny.
Roosevelt?
Approve.
Paul?
I approve.
Kellen?
I approve.
And Carol?
Approve.
Motion carries 7-1. 4B, a motion to approve the service-connected disability benefits for Joy Rudder has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, we'll go to the roll. Brian?
I approve.
Leontine?
Deny.
Vanessa?
Deny.
Sherilyn?
Deny.
Roosevelt?
Approve.
Paul?
I approve.
Kellen?
I approve.
And Carol?
Approve.
The motion carries 5-3. 4C, a motion to approve the service-connected disability benefits for Rashid McDaniels has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on this item? Okay.
I'd
Brian?
like to discuss something here real quick. Just the wording.
Sure.
If you, the two doctors, the one approved, Dr. Weinerman approved. The other doctor, the wording states there was a pre-existing condition that was aggravated by the injury which causes the member to be disabled, but is blaming the disability on the pre-existing condition. And of course, I don't agree with that. If you're able to work with that condition, then there's no disability there. The injury which caused the disability is why this member can no longer be a police officer. So I am going to vote to approve based on that.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. Any other discussion before we go to the roll? Okay. Brian?
I approve.
Thank you. Leontine? Come back to Leontine.
I'm
Vanessa?
sorry. Deny. Leontine, I'm sorry.
Thank you. That's okay. Vanessa?
I deny.
Sherilyn?
Deny.
Roosevelt?
Approve.
Paul,
I approve.
Kellen,
I approve.
and Carol.
Approve.
The motion carries 5-3. For D, a motion to approve the service-connected disability benefits for Renee Thompson has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on this item? Okay, we'll go to the roll. Brian,
I'll abstain.
Leonton,
Deny.
Vanessa,
Deny.
Sherilyn,
Deny.
Roosevelt,
Abstain.
Paul,
I abstain.
Kellen,
Deny.
and Carol.
Abstain.
The motion fails 0-4 with 4 noted abstentions. For 4E, a motion to approve the service-connected disability benefits for Daryl Knighton has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, we'll go to the roll. Brian,
I approve.
Leontine,
Approve.
Vanessa,
Approve.
Sherilyn,
Deny.
Roosevelt,
Approve.
Paul,
I approve.
Kellen,
I approve.
and Carol.
Approve.
Motion carries 7-1. For F, a motion to approve the service-connected disability benefits for Glenn Mahoney has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, we'll go to the roll. Brian,
I approve.
Leontine,
Approve.
Vanessa,
I approve.
Sherilyn,
Deny.
Roosevelt,
I approve.
Paul,
I approve.
Kellen,
I approve.
and Carol.
Approve.
The motion carries 7-1. For G, a motion to approve the service-connected disability benefits for Raymond Maxwell has been made and seconded. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none. Brian,
I approve.
Leontine,
Deny.
Vanessa,
Deny.
Sherilyn,
Deny.
Roosevelt,
I approve.
Paul,
I approve.
Kellen,
I approve.
and Carol.
Approve.
The motion carries 5-3. For H, a motion to approve the application for service-connected disability benefits for Dwayne Spurriel has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on this item? Brian,
I approve.
Leontine,
Deny.
Vanessa,
Deny.
Sherilyn,
Deny.
Roosevelt,
I approve.
Paul,
I approve.
Kellen,
I approve.
and Carol.
Approve.
Motion carries 5-3. Moves us into section 5. 5A, motion to approve the service-connected death benefits regarding Terrence Gordon, the deceased, for Victoria Gordon has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none. Brian,
I approve.
Leontine,
Approve.
Vanessa,
I approve.
Sherilyn,
Abstain.
Roosevelt,
I approve.
Paul,
I approve.
Helen,
I approve.
and Carol.
Approve.
Motion carries with 7 approvals and 1 abstention. Section 6, 6A, a motion to approve the survivorship benefits on behalf of a medically dependent adult child regarding Eleanor Gilbertson, the deceased, for Joan Gilbertson Balan has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on this item?
Hey, Jackie, this is Carol. Can we send this, to a hearing panel?
Okay, there's a request for an alternative motion to send 6A to a hearing panel for additional discussion. Is there a second to the alternative motion?
I second.
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 Okay, thank you. So a revised motion to send case 6A to a hearing panel has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the revised motion? Hearing none, we'll go to the roll. Brian,
I approve.
Leontin,
Approve.
Vanessa,
I approve.
Sherilyn,
Approve.
Roosevelt,
I approve.
Paul,
I approve.
Kellen,
I approve.
and Carol.
Approve.
The motion carries unanimously. Section 7, 7A, a motion to approve the survivorship benefits regarding Anthony P. Quintieri, the deceased, for Margaret Quintieri has been made and seconded. Any discussion on this item? Okay, Brian,
I approve.
Leontin,
Approve.
Vanessa,
Approve.
Sherilyn,
Deny.
Roosevelt,
I approve.
Paul,
Approve.
Kellen,
I approve.
and Carol.
Approve.
Motion carries 7-1. 7B, a motion to approve the survivorship benefits regarding Kevin Mee, the deceased, for Jacqueline Mee has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on this item? We'll go to the roll. Brian,
I approve.
Leontin,
Approve.
Vanessa,
Approve.
Sherilyn,
Approve.
Roosevelt,
I approve.
Paul,
I approve.
Kellen,
I approve.
and Carol.
Approve.
Motion carries unanimously, and that moves us into new business and the executive director's report.
Thanks, Jackie. There's a request for attendance at an educational seminar. It's the Coried Global Summit taking place July 20th to the 22nd, concerning changes, challenges, and crossroads for the U.S. and global capital markets. I believe that Carol has requested to attend, so I don't know if anyone has a motion for that.
Sir, a
I'll
motion
make the
from,
motion.
was that Kellen?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Kellen. There's a motion to approve the travel request that Fran provided a review on. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, Jackie.
Okay, thanks, Roosevelt. Motion to approve the travel request has been made and seconded. Any discussion on this item?
So Jackie, I would just like to make a friendly motion that any trustee that wants to go can attend if it's approved.
Okay, we'll make a friendly amendment to the motion to extend to other trustees. Is there a second for the revised motion?
Second.
Second.
Thanks, Sherilyn. Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, we'll go to the roll. Brian,
I approve.
Leontin,
Approve.
Vanessa? Come back to Vanessa. Sherilyn?
I'm sorry, I was muted. I approve.
That's okay. Thank you. Sherilyn?
Approve.
Roosevelt?
Approve.
Paul?
I approve.
Kellen?
I approve.
And Carol.
Approve.
Motion carries unanimously.
And concerning some information in the executive director's report, the PPA board will be meeting at the end of June, specifically June 28th, to discuss and decide on whether they will allow their members to join the 457 plan nationwide. Will participate and do a presentation at that board meeting. You may recall I let the board know that this was occurring, and we will see what the outcome is. I know they're enthusiastic about joining the plan, so I anticipate that the board may vote to do so. The drop extension, you may or may not know, the mayor signed on June 21st a declaration of extraordinary circumstances for the retention of certain employees who are in drop that are scheduled to retire via drop between July 1st, 2022 and June 30th, 2023. That will that will go in front of the ad board. The designation of what groups that includes will go in front of the ad board on July 8th. My understanding is that will include correctional officers and sworn police officers. That's what we know at this point. But the declaration of extraordinary circumstances has been signed as of June 21st, 2022 by the mayor. The PAF, all payments will be completed in June. There was some survivor payments and of course the quadros, which take some additional time. So as of June, all the PAF payments will be made. And I would just like to let the board know we've received a number of thank you, either notes, cards, or letters from individuals. And I'll just read one here because all of the notes, of course, ask me to express their gratitude to the board. It says, to pension board members, I am writing this letter to personally thank the board for their decisions on the distribution money. I am an 84-year-old retired firefighter on a fixed income. I cannot express my gratitude for your decision. Please share this letter to all members so they will know how much I and other pensioners appreciate this during these difficult times. Once again, thank you. And we had similar sort of letters and notes. So I wanted to make sure that the board was aware of that and that the members appreciate not only the PAF, but I'm sure all the work the board has done to have our investments perform well. Even in this down market, as Chris will tell you later, the fund is holding up very well. So that's very good work by the trustees and staff and the consultants. I don't want to leave anybody out. If I did, I'm sorry. The legislative subcommittee, you may recall that we will have a legislative subcommittee. There are some issues that the legislative subcommittee wants to take a look at. That will happen probably in mid-August. That's what we're looking. We're looking for mid-August. So please keep an eye out for that. Previously I mentioned the State House Bill 2010 that required training for pension fund fiduciaries. That has passed the House, the State House. We'll see what happens in the Senate. It's been some small changes in it, but it does have training requirements for those who are fiduciaries. And we will ask the law department, along with our chief compliance officer, Jim Casanis, to take a look at it and see what the requirements are and see what we have to do, ultimately, if it's passed and or when it's passed, to comply with the training requirements. The training requirements are in here. It requires training, a 2-hour initial training for people who are appointed to the board after the effective date of the legislation. I don't think that will not apply to any of our current trustees. And it requires 1-hour training annually for each year thereafter. So that will apply to our current trainings. It's possible we would do the training in-house or through our consultants, but the law department will take a look at that in conjunction with Jim. The content of the training is in here. It talks about, must cover the definition of fiduciary, the area of conflicts of interest, the prudent expert standard, and a section on self-dealing, which is obviously related to conflicts of interest also. And then it has a section concerning, it's called payment permitted. I would call it related to indemnification. But I think the law department will provide more detail on that if and when we get to the point where there's a final bill that's passed. Our initial retirement preparedness sessions will go online starting on July 19th will be the first session, and it it was a coordinated effort between, pension benefits, city benefits. Leonte did a really nice job participating in it, and nationwide. So Shamika, was the point person for pensions. So that will be on July 19th, and it'll be online, and that will be the first of our sessions. So that's good work by them. And you'll see, Chris will get to the calendar later, but a request has been made to move the July meeting. I wanted to do this while everyone was still here to July 29th. In the alternative, July 26th, but July 29th is the preferred date. There's a conflict that is a hard conflict. The elected trustees have said July 29th is okay. I know the solicitor and Marcia have indicated that July 29th is okay. I will just note that July 29th is a Friday, so I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that. But I don't know if the board wants to take a vote on that now or wait till Chris gets to the calendar, but that's the request, is to move the currently scheduled July 28th board meeting to Friday, July 29th.
Thanks, Fran. Would any board member like to, I don't know if there's any conflicts from those who haven't responded yet. I know for Rob and I, we can do the 29th. Fran, the Friday date that you mentioned.
Yeah, and the solicitor and Marcia also. So I guess Vanessa, not to put pressure on you, Vanessa.
No
but-
worries. I'll have to move some stuff, but I'll make myself available. I'll rearrange my schedule if everybody else can do the 29th.
All right. So do we want to make a motion on that to switch to the 29th?
Yeah, Fran, it was my request, so I'll make the motion. I appreciate it. You may or may not know there's a huge military exercise. Can't miss that. So I'll make the motion to switch the July meeting to Friday, July 29th at 9:30.
Thanks, Brian. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Kellen. A motion has been made and seconded to change the July board meeting date to Friday, the 29th. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, we'll go to the roll. Brian?
I approve.
Sherilyn?
Approve.
Thank you. Leontine?
Approve.
Vanessa?
Approve.
Roosevelt?
Approve.
Paul?
I approve.
Kellen?
I approve.
And Carol?
Approve.
Motion carries unanimously.
That's all I had, Jack.
Okay. Is there any other new business before the board?
Jackie, can I ask Fran a question?
Yes, go ahead, Carol.
So Fran, I just want to be clear on what you said about the mayor doing a drop extension. So instead of the legislation that Councilwoman Parker was trying to put forth, that was put on hold, and now the mayor is going to exercise his right to do the emergency drop offer.
I am not characterizing it that way. I am not saying
Okay.
anything was done instead of anything else. I am simply saying that the mayor has signed, effective June 21st, the declaration of extraordinary circumstances to retain certain employees. Yeah. I can't comment on the, I don't know on the
So,
other.
okay, what happened? Do you know if anything happened to Councilwoman Parker's legislation?
I just know it was not introduced. That's all I know.
So this declaration of that the mayor is, this is the one that is already in the code for him to do, right?
That's correct. It's under 22-310 subsection 2. 2A, 310-2A.
Thank you, Fran. I appreciate
And
it.
I, by the way, I can send out the signed declaration so the board has it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You got it, Carol.
All right, that's all. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Carol, and thanks, Fran, for sharing some of those letters with the board. That brings us to the litigation summary update.
There are no new matters.
Okay. Thanks, Ellen. A motion to adjourn has been made and seconded, and hearing no objections, the motion carries unanimously and we'll move into the deferred comp portion of the meeting. And our first item of business is approval of the minutes from our prior meeting, which has been made and seconded. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, we'll go to the roll. Brian? Hey, Brian, do we have you on the approval of the deferred comp minutes?
See, sometimes I can't tell if I'm actually. No. Okay.
We can hear you now, Francois, so I'll
I know. Thank you, Jackie. I
Francois?
I hate my computer. What? Can you hear me?
We
You
can
can't
hear
hear
you.
me. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have a vote on the minutes for the deferred comp portion?
Yes, let's approve them. Why not?
Okay. Leontine?
Approve.
Vanessa?
Abstain.
Okay, Vanessa was not at our last meeting. Roosevelt?
I approve.
Paul?
I approve.
Kellen?
I mean, since Francois said sure, why not? I approve.
And Carol?
Approved. Approved.
Motion carries with 7 approvals and 1 abstention is noted, and that brings us to item 2, the deferred comp plan activity update.
Morning, everyone. On the investment side, there would be a performance update at the next month's either July or August investment or a deferred comp meeting, depending on when all of the information is available. Brad or Bina?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. As of May 31st, the ending balance in the deferred compensation plan is $1,643,848,072.93. That is an increase of approximately $407,000 since April. Total participants with account balances is 24,572, 38 less than the month of April. Actively deferring participants is 19,181. That's an increase by 1 since the month of April. New enrollments received in May is 66 total, and inactive participants is 5,391. That is 39 less since April. In the 401A plan, the ending balance as of May 31st is $1,800,670.17. That is a decrease of approximately $7,600 with 854 participants, which is a 7 decrease since April. Our Solution Center handled 3,034 phone calls, which is a decrease of 44 less than last month. And there are a total of 17,786 participants who have set up an online account, which continues to increase every month. In terms of percentage options, there are 1,154 participants who are currently contributing in the percentage. That's an increase of 1 more than last month. In the 457 Roth, which is the after-tax contributions, the total participant count is 4,576, which is an increase of 86 more since April, with the total plan assets in the Roth at $22.7 million. Any questions? If not, I'm going to pass it on to Brad to discuss the May service activity report. Brad?
Thank you, Bina. Good morning, everyone. So for the month of May, the local service team did 50 one-on-one consultations. There were 35 enrollments into the plan. They conducted 8 new employee orientations, and there were 17 consultations conducted using the My Interactive Retirement Planner tool. There were 10 group events and workshops with 191 total attendees. I'd like to specifically talk about the District Council 33 new employee orientation. I want to thank Marcia She was instrumental in getting us involved in those, and we're now a recurring part of the District Council 33 new employee orientations every twice a month. I'll be going to do one as soon as we're done with the board meeting today. So I just wanted to thank Marcia for her work there in getting us involved in those sessions. Speaking of the local service team, I'd like to take just 2 minutes to introduce everybody to a new member of our team. As you all know, Jason Salmon, our CFP, left in January, and it took a little bit of time, but through our FRS, our minority-owned business partner, we were able to bring on board Don Marchisello, who will be our CFP, servicing the city's plan, helping participants with some more advanced retirement planning when it comes to their deferred comp accounts and other aspects of personal financial planning. Don was chosen from a diverse set of candidates, and really what he demonstrated through the process was just a passion to educate people on all aspects of personal financial planning and an ability to explain some of those concepts to very different groups of people, which is a big part of our job. When you're speaking with different groups of the city workforce, is a very diverse group of folks, both in demographics and also knowledge when it comes to personal financial planning, and the ability to explain that information to the whole group was a very important part of what Don was able to demonstrate going through the process. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Don for just a quick hello, and thank you very much. Don, are you there?
Don, you're unmuted. You need to unmute. Yep. So great way to start. So thank you, Brad. Thank you for the kind words as well. I just welcome the opportunity to be a resource for all the participants. I'm a big believer in financial education and look forward to working with all the participants in the plan. So thank you for the opportunity.
All right, you see him.
Great. We look forward to working with you, and don't worry, technology issues happen to all of us. So. Okay, great. Any questions for Brad, Rena? Okay. Hearing none, a motion to adjourn the deferred comp portion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? And no discussion, we'll move into the investment committee. And
thanks,
we'll
Jackie.
Great.
The first item on the agenda is approval of the May 22nd investment minutes, and it has been moved and properly seconded that those minutes be approved. Brian?
I approve.
Francois?
Approve.
Leontine?
Approve.
Vanessa?
Abstain.
Roosevelt?
Approve.
Paul?
I approve.
Kellen?
I approve.
And Carol?
Approve.
Motion carries. Thank you. And that takes us to the investment performance review.
Thanks, Rob, and good morning, everyone. Spend a couple minutes going through the May numbers, talking a little bit about what's happened in June, then turn it over to Marquette. Of course, we're happy to take questions from any of the trustees. In May, the fund returned 30 basis points to the positive side, which was 10 basis points ahead of its benchmark. All asset classes were largely in line or ahead of their respective policy targets. No concerns, no actionable concerns with any managers in the lineup at present. And the plan, as Fran alluded to, I think relative to some of the general benchmarks, the overall equity benchmarks, as well as some of our peer plans, has continued to hold up well. June has obviously been a very difficult month, as you no doubt saw from the preliminary estimated returns that were sent out on Tuesday afternoon. Again, you'll note that even with the plan being down, it's significantly ahead of its policy targets there. I know I've talked to a couple of trustees or alternates about this, and I think Fran and I have discussed this. I mean, the one number in particular that continues to amaze me is that going back to the last fiscal year start, if you had moved all your money out of the S&P 500 and into the Barclays aggregate, the most conservative bond index you could buy, you would have actually lost more money than being entirely invested in the S&P 500. And I think that's just reflective of how difficult and how challenging this investment environment is. Inflation obviously has continued to be a primary driver, much of the market volatility. The Fed has signaled its intent to continuously and perhaps aggressively raise rates, including 75 basis points last week. One of the Fed governors indicating a similar increase next month seems more than reasonable. We will have the annual asset allocation review either at the August or September meeting, depending upon scheduling of some investment recommendations. But again, at this time, no actionable concerns with any of the managers individually or asset classes as a whole. And I'll ask Kwaku or Dave
Chris, before
offer any additional.
Before we do that, one question I think we may have talked about last time, but I think it's good to revisit this in the meeting. Can you talk a little bit how our current allocation is done, giving us downside protection in the turbulent market we've had?
Sure. So, I mean, if you look at the estimates, and I know they're in the email, but not in the materials, but the fiscal year to date, for example, it's provided us with downside protection of close to 80 basis points. And even when you account for the cash, the large amount of cash that we have in the portfolio, because of the RRP payment that came in late March, we're still looking at about 30 to 40 basis points of protection. On a year-to-date basis, when most of the market carnage has unfolded, the downside protection has been even greater. I mean, in that case, it's a little bit under 100 basis points of downside protection. So we are seeing, relative to the policy targets and the benchmarks, that this fund is protecting capital on the downside. As the trustees here know, that's at least as important, arguably more important in some cases than participating in the upside. Because, obviously when, the less you lose on the downside, then the less you have to make up when the markets inevitably turn back up. So like what we're seeing in that regard relative to the policy targets.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Kwaku or Dave, I don't know if you had additional thoughts or comments you wanted to add.
Thanks, Chris. You've summarized that well, but just as a reminder, what we're experiencing now is precisely what we evaluate during stress tests, what we describe as the perfect storm. And that's a period of rising interest rates of 100 basis points. And now we've seen so far this year 150 basis points, and we are now back into a bear market. A bear market occurs every 10 years. So we shouldn't be caught flat-footed by the way that the portfolio is performing. Having a diversified portfolio across both public and private markets, to Chris's earlier point, certainly has helped with downside protection. If we just had a traditionally diversified portfolio of stocks and bonds, this is a rare instance of where both of those asset classes have been down. And in fact, dating back to 1976, the inception of the aggregate bond index, we've only seen 19 quarters where both fixed income and equities were down. So the fact that we have diversified into core real estate, into private credit, into private equity has certainly helped protect on the downside and minimize the amount of losses as securities are marked to market daily in an incredibly volatile market.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, thanks. Thanks. Back to you, Chris.
Thanks, Rob. In terms of staff's report, the securities lending income for the month, $170,018, $602,170 for the year, and $50.99 million since the program began. Turning to diversity and local AUM, you'll notice a significant jump in assets from the end of the first quarter through the end of May. It's almost entirely attributable to a change in ownership status at Rumline. Rumline, while maintaining some level of significant ownership by African Americans, is now more than 50% woman-owned, which moves them into qualifying category under the board's policy and the mayor's executive order. So on a combined basis, assets, local and diverse, now 62.59%. Diverse managers broken out as a standalone group, 54.77%, and Philadelphia and surrounding suburbs, 9.31%. You can continue to see the more granular breakdown by Philadelphia, surrounding counties, and gender and ethnic makeup, starting in the middle of page 1 and continuing through the end of the report.
Hey, Chris.
Yep.
I just wanted to congratulate the trustees, those are current trustees and trustees from the immediate past, because I can remember when I was counsel to the board, when I was in the law department, I can remember the board starting the process of trying to increase diversity. Of course, Carol was a member of the board back then, and it was in the low single digits, I believe, the number back then. Chris, you probably know historical numbers better than I do, but to see the number at 54.77% is an amazing accomplishment. And I just wanted to congratulate the current and past trustees, and obviously the chair of the board and everyone involved with the fund, including staff and consultants, in bringing candidates to us to allow us to get to allow the board to get to this point. And hopefully it's something that we've now institutionalized diversity at the pension board, and it will continue, and it will survive all of us, all of our tenures at the board. So I'm very happy with that, and I want to congratulate the trustees and the administration and the unions and consultants and staff on the combined effort to get to this point. So thank you.
Thanks, Brandon. Thanks for saying that. I think that's all really well said.
Yeah, your recollection is right, Fran. I don't have the numbers from 10 or 15 years ago right in front of me, but it was in the mid to low single digits. And you'll continue to see, assuming successful business, negotiations and no issues on the legal end, diverse candidates and managers continue to be a focus, later this year, when we bring more private equity candidates to the table.
So that is really congratulations to the trustees, but I just want to congratulate Rumline for stepping up to the plate, because for a minute we was having a problem trying to define diversity with them, but I see now they understand the words, and I just want to congratulate them on stepping up to the plate and meeting some of my qualifications.
Thanks, Carol. And we have a couple managers. They were one of them. A couple, and you can see them on the sheet that we provide to the board each month, that are close or have substantial participation, and staff is in constant dialogue with them. Causeway, for example, is very, very close to that 50% female threshold. So we're constantly talking to managers such as that about what they might, do over the medium to long term to increase their percentages. And obviously, what's not reflected in these reports is all the work that the board, has done in pushing companies, LOR, Estancia, other folks on, whether it's local office openings, as I mentioned, Estancia did recently, creation of internship programs, broadening their recruiting efforts. That's not reflected in any of these numbers, but the board has done some really phenomenal things in that area too. Lastly, there's obviously been a change to the board calendars. We'll now meet in July on the 29th, which is a Friday. And then the next two meetings are scheduled for August 25th and the 22nd of September. That concludes the listed agenda for this.
Thank you. Any new business? Any old business? Then it has been moved and properly seconded that the investment committee meeting is adjourned. We are adjourned. I'd like to call the full board meeting into session. Actually, were there any items in investment committee that we have to affirm, or we just go straight to new business? I think all we did is the minutes. Do we have to confirm that? It's probably a Jim question.
Might as well do it, Rob.
Okay. It's been moved and properly seconded that we affirm the actions taken during the investment committee. I'll call the roll. Brian.
I approve.
Francois.
Approve.
Leontine.
Approve.
Vanessa.
Abstain.
Roosevelt.
I approve.
Paul.
I approve.
Kellen.
I approve.
And Madam Vice Chair.
I approve.
Any new business? Any old business? Then it's been moved and properly seconded. We are adjourned, and we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Have a good day. Have a nice weekend, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Take
everyone.
care.
See you in July.